Hey YouTube, this is Steven with On My Way to Fire, a personal finance channel about early retirement. So as I mentioned in my previous videos, I'm on year probably about 12 or 13 here of really taking things serious with trying to get to an early retirement. I'm currently 46 and I haven't done a hard look at the numbers in a long time, and it's probably been well over 10 years. And in that time, we have so many tools available that are free that I may as well take a look and see what I could do. So I hit up Chat GPT and I gave it the scenario of retiring in the next couple years, if I retired now, or if I retired in 5 to 10 years. And it gave me some information that I hadn't really considered, and it made me a little bit more comfortable with what I'm currently doing. I think the first thing that I didn't really think about was calculating how Social Security is compiled for your working career. You need 35 working years, and it's going to take the highest earning years. So the longer you work beyond the 35 years, you're going to have a lot of extra higher earning years replacing those lower years when you're probably younger. So that's a huge thing that I didn't really consider. You know, as I get further into my working career, I'm in my prime earning years here, and you know, my salary will continue to go up, and it'll help push that Social Security number higher in the future. So it gave me an estimate, and of course, you know, it's not something I'm gonna say is a definite number, but it said based off what I'm currently doing, I could probably get a monthly Social Security of about $1,800 to maybe in the low 1900s. But if I keep working for 3 to 5 more years, that number goes up a lot, and I could probably max out around 2,500. 2,300 is kind of the sweet spot based off the timeline I'd like to do, I'm comfortable with doing. So, you know, it's just good information I never really considered. And I wouldn't take the Chat GPT analysis as something that's a replacement for getting, you know, professional advice if it's at the point that I'm really, really serious about doing it. I think the number one concern is going to be healthcare. The cost monthly for these ACA subsidies and all that's happening, they just keep going up. Thankfully, I'm employed, so I have a high deductible plan through, I believe, Aetna or one of those type of companies, and the premium is pretty minimal, and I actually get a little bit extra in terms of a match within my high, since I have that high deductible health plan through the health savings account. So that offsets a little bit of the cost, and it's not nearly as bad as I've seen on some of these PPO plans. So with all this in mind, I think this is just something that I continue to refine, keep in mind, keep updating these numbers. And what's interesting with the Chat GPT, at least the one that I'm using since I'm logged in, it'll remember my conversations from before. So I know some people, you know, privacy-wise might not be, you know, willing to do that, give up information. I'm not giving account numbers. I'm not giving it access to anything. I'm just throwing rough numbers out there, giving it approximations of what my salary is, and really just doing it in ranges to see what it gives me. And I think that's the best way to use tools like that. You know, this information's probably sold to some third-party site, and they're going to use it to do their learning of these large language models and all that stuff. So, you know, I'm going to use it for what it is. It's free. They're going to use me on the other side. That's fine. I'm not too worried about it. I don't want to give detailed, specific personal information, but you know, it's a good tool. So, you know, with this whole thing with Social Security, 401k, you know, there's just so many considerations with early retirement. You got to bridge that gap for those years that you're not working to cover your medical expenses as well as your income. And so probably number one for most people is going to be their income related to rent or mortgage. So my goal is to sell my property and buy another property free and clear, no mortgage, and that eliminates a huge cost right off the bat. You're still going to have property taxes. You really can't get around that. But, you know, in the insurance, those are probably the two biggest ones that I'm going to have. But if I eliminate that mortgage, that frees up a sizable amount of money per month that I don't have to bring in. And that keeps my taxable income lower. And at that point, that would allow me to do what's called Roth conversions. And what I can do is take the workplace 401k. I'm no longer with the company. At that point, I can transfer it to another brokerage like Schwab or Fidelity. And then I can decide how much I want to convert. So let's say my tax bracket, I still have some room, because really what you want to do is maximize those lower brackets. And I can say, in the beginning part of the year, do a Roth conversion for $7,000. Well, that's going to count as income because I never paid tax on it when it was in the account for the workplace 401k. That was pre-tax money. So I saved on those years. Let's say I put in, $10,000 for the year for the 401k one particular year. Well, I didn't pay taxes on that $10,000, federal or state. So if you move to a low cost tax state like Nevada, they don't have any state income tax. So you would just pay the federal tax on the bracket that you're in when you're doing these Roth conversions. So if you set them up right, you can systematically over the course of several years do smaller Roth conversions in these amounts, keep it within the lowest bracket, and then as time has gone on, you have access to that money in the Roth as far as investing it. There are rules based off age when you can actually access it. So let's say I'm 50 and I'm doing these Roth conversions just as an example. I can't withdraw it without penalty because I'm not of the retirement age yet. So I think on a Roth, not 100%, but I think it's 55 you have to be to withdraw on it. If you want, you can withdraw your principal, I believe, at any time once you've established the account for 5 years. But I think the whole point of the Roth, though, is that you can trade inside of it. Capital gains, dividends, everything is tax-free, regardless of what state you live in. So that's kind of the goal. You want to grow that Roth as much as you can and get as much into that column. Now, the second benefit of doing these conversions is you get it out of the 401k, which is the pre-tax. Let's say that number got up to $500,000 for a retirement account. When you get to be a certain age, they have a thing called RMD, and that's a required minimum distribution. And that says, by law, you have to take out this amount of money. And there's a actuarial table. I think it's somewhere around 2.5%, give or take, for that first year. And if you don't take out that amount, there's a penalty on it because you have to start winding down the account and withdrawing because the government wants the money. You've been growing it tax-free, or actually tax-deferred, all those years in the 401k. So the whole point is they want that money and they want to make sure that you're withdrawing it. So if you do these Roth conversions, you pay the tax rate that you're at during those low tax years in early retirement. You get that money reduced out of the regular 401k, and you're going to pay a tax rate of like somewhere around 8 to 12, maybe 18%. You don't want to go up to those high brackets because that's going to kind of defeat the whole purpose of this. So you got to really watch how much you're earning in your dividends, your capital gains, and your taxable accounts. Assuming you're not working, you have no income other than that, so you still have your standard deduction and all that other stuff. But the point is to be mindful of it and to do these Roth conversions throughout the year. As you get closer to the end of the year, you're going to know your number, where you're going to be for your tax liability for the next tax filing. So you can kind of, at that point, size it up and say, okay, I still have another $8,600 before I hit that next bracket. I may as well do another conversion for $8,500 and keep it within that bracket. And now you maximize the use of that bracket for that year. And at that point, that money is now in the account. You can start trading it as a Roth IRA, do whatever you want inside that account, grow year after year, and it's out of the column for the RMD for later. So let's say that I started doing these Roth conversions and I did somewhere around $10,000 to $20,000 a year for 10 years. Well, that's $100,000 to $200,000 out of the main 401k pre-tax. And at that point, the Roth is going to earn what it earns. I pay taxes on it out of pocket. I don't want to do it out of the Roth conversion because if I take taxes out of that, the whole point is I need it to grow. If I don't have W-2 income, I can't contribute to the Roth. So I would want to do the transfer in full with no tax, and I'll pay it on my own with my own money so that I can make use of that for the conversions. And so, the tax brackets will adjust over time. They'll go up a little bit. I think this strategy is going to work. But realistically, I'm probably still somewhere around 5 to 7 years out from really trying to do an early retirement. There's just so many things to consider. It would be kind of foolish to stop here. And I think continually updating my notes with the information that the Chat GPT is giving me and using, current income as the years go by it's going to help me establish that plan early and be totally prepared when that time comes. All right, so I just want to thank you guys for stopping by. I am trying to grow this channel, get some viewers. If you found this helpful, please share it with a friend and give a like and subscribe. Thank you.